Hello and welcome to the IRL F2 Round 3. Tonight it's Tuesday night, 8 PM, live on YouTube for Round 3 here at Zandvoort for the very first time on F1 2020. And I'm joined, as always, on a Tuesday night with my good friend Charlie. Charlie, how are you doing?
Yeah, good mate, thank you. It's good to be here. New track for us to look at, so it's going to be an interesting one.
Absolutely, of course. Zandvoort back on the calendar, was scheduled to be back on the calendar for the 2020 season, of course obviously being delayed now to 2021. Of course 14 turns, a lot of these drivers are going to be looking to do the soft to the hard tyre, or maybe even the medium to hard tyre strategy. I'm sure we'll be getting into qualifying very soon. Near to the North Sea coastline, 105 capacity grandstands, a 4.2 kilometre mile circuit, 2.6 miles long, and we've got a few Dutch drivers on the grid with us tonight. We've got Focky, who had a good race, who is scheduled to be in the Renault, if he can join us in time. We've also of course got Mr. Steen in the Haas, and we also got Roy Boy, who has missed the first couple of races to join up this evening. But it is an interesting track, isn't it, Charlie? So it's a completely new circuit. We saw a bit of chaos at times last night on the F1 League.
Yeah,
It can be quite a difference around here, because it really can show, if you've just sort of managed to sort of hide away from this track early on, you're not sort of willing to learn, you could find yourself at real disadvantage tonight.
yeah, you could, if you haven't put the time in, you could find yourself a couple of seconds off the pace. So it's really going to show tonight who has put the time in on this track. Obviously, it being new to all of the drivers in here, is really going to show up those who have gone that extra step and put the effort in.
Absolutely, and of course overtaking of course can be quite tricky around here. I was also racing around it last night. Of course weather can also throw could be a little bit of a problem for some of these drivers if they're not particularly fond of the wet weather. Of course it does seem to happen on this game. It doesn't really matter where and abouts the world this circuit is. It just seems like you have a 50% chance of rain coming at some point, but we'll see if that comes later on. Safety cars, I'm sure we're quite a good chance, I'd say, of a safety car on a new circuit. It's so fast, it's so twisty. You're yet to drive this track, Charlie. Of course you're with the Realistic Performance League on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
But what really stands out for this circuit for you?
I mean, it's just, you don't really get much rest around this circuit. It's not like a nice long straight where you can have a think about your race for a second. It's just all corners. It's like a big go-kart track, so it's super aggressive, and I quite like it, to be honest. It's just I struggle for pace, but I do enjoy the circuit, and it flows really well. So yeah, it's really aggressive. You've got to be on it all the time, because there's no space for mistakes.
Absolutely, of course, and the curves as well on the inside. When you're going through some of these fast corners, you will not be wanting to touch those curves at any point, even in your qualifying lap on low fuel, low fresh rubber. You really can just spin it if you attack those curves a little bit too much. And of course track limits, after the sort of a nightmare of the opening 2 rounds in terms of track limits in Austria and France. Two tracks quite well known for being very harsh in terms of track limits and very easy to pick up penalties. Tonight should be a lot easier for these guys. Really, it's only really turn 14, the last corner. Potentially, I think coming out of turns 7 and 8, I think maybe run wide. They really should be the only corners where these guys will really have to struggle. But I should not expect to see too many warnings and penalties dished out tonight. And it is a debut for I. Frank Bland in the Renault, so massive welcome to him, and best of luck for his debut here at Invictus. And of course he replaces the Hailstone, who has dropped down to F3, and he'll be racing tomorrow night. You can find us on YouTube 8 PM as well. But for Austria, Charlie, we'll go back to that while these guys just start their out lap and get a little bit into the groove, ready to start their first flying laps. Back to Austria, we did see a bit of a class of their own, to two, Beastas and Monster Blue, and it really was the Ferrari versus the Mercedes for the race win. Beastas got it on penalties in the end, but those two really did set a new bar.
Yeah, they were completely, like you say, in a league of their own, and just miles out front, battling with each other. And even though they were battling, there was no one really closing in behind them. So kind of expecting more of the same tonight. If they've put a fair amount of time into this circuit, then you'd expect them to be up the front again.
It's Sultari who still leads the championship, a win and a third place for him in the 2 rounds. The only man to have stepped on the podium for the both of them. He's on 25 points, top of the nest, and of course Beastas winning the second round. He's in P2 at the moment, a few points behind him. Monster Blue as well, P3. So it is very close to the top of the standings. And of course in the constructors as well, AlphaTauri already having quite a substantial lead of 16 points over Ferrari, Sultari and Masciero. Doing really well in the opening 2 rounds, 20 points and 18 points in the in the first 2 rounds, so incredible. Ferrari did very well to pick up a win. I'm sure Lozap will be trying to back up his teammate this evening, but these guys look like just about to be starting their flying laps. We watched Nightshades, who had a bit of an up and down Austrian Grand Prix, as the Alfa Romeo just about getting out of the way on the exit of turn 3 there. So come up the hill, it's so quick, it will be a bit difficult in terms of traffic. It is such a fast flowing tight circuit, so it is difficult to get out of the way. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of cars trying in their absolute best efforts to get out of the way, but it's a bit of a mixed bag for Nightshades. He had a bit of a spin, he had almost gets a little bit of a twitch on coming out of turn 9 there as well. But he did recover well. He made the fantastic strategic call to go on to the intermediates later on. He picked himself up a couple of points. As Soy Samuel and Mercedes goes up into the provisional pole with a 9.4, immediately beaten with an 8.6 on Monster Blue. And I believe pole position last night was an 8.1 or an 8.2. So immediately, that's a very strong bank, because Beastas immediately does an 8.4.
Yeah, that is an incredibly strong banker. That is, wow. Was not expecting to see those kind of times from these boys, but I can't see anyone beating that already from Beastas really, unless Monster Blue can hook a lap up, because everyone else is going to be quite a way off that.
Absolutely, we'll see how Frankland comes around his first flying lap, but yeah, what a time for Beastas. 8.4 as a banker lap, and Masciero as well in his own right on the medium tyres at 9.3. But Frankland goes at 9.9, so I'm sure we'll be looking to find a little bit more time. As I think Vangelis in the Racing Point has gone up into P4, sorry, with a 9.3. So it's very close from Lozak in third place all the way down. It's incredibly close. We'll see what Hulkenberg can do, as he's just set a time of a 9.9. I'm sure old Hulk would be looking for a bit of a change in fortune. He's running so well, about 6th and 7th in the points, high in the points for so much of the race. This all went wrong for him on the exit of turn 1, and he ended up in the wall, and sadly nothing for the Williams driver. We'll go and ride aboard with Lopensky, who's sort of still yet to get his season up and going. He's yet to score a point in the opening 2 rounds. He'll be having for round 3. He's gone very, very, very deep, and he's into the gravel trap, and he's just bouncing over the curbs there at turns 11 and 12. It's a very harsh braking zone. Of course, there's a DRS between the exit of turn 10 and into turn 11. There's DRS zone, the second DRS zone of this circuit, and he's just got a little bit deep on the brakes. And I'm sure we'll be seeing plenty of mistakes tonight, Charlie, because we'll be saying we can't be too critical on these guys, because this will be the first time they've raced around it.
Yeah, obviously you're going to see mistakes here, as we say, it's a new circuit for these guys, so that is to be expected. And with it being such a circuit where you need such high concentration, you're going to see probably more mistakes than you would see on average at a track that they know anyway. So yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Yep, and we'll see how the Red Bulls of McLubby and Nightshades can do. Of course, they'll be looking for a little bit of a return in fortune, as I think Lozak's just improved his time by a couple of attempts as well in the Ferrari at 9.0. So he's edging closer. He's got a little bit of a buffer now between himself and 4th place of the Racing Point. I think he might have done a second push lap on those tyres as well. So a very respectable time from him. He's still alarmingly P3. He got 6 tenths of a second to find to pole position. Hultari's on an out lap. I'm sure he'll be somewhere near the front, you would imagine, even if he can't quite challenge the likes of Monster Blue and Beastas. We'll see what Speed Queen can do. After another solid drive from the 3-time champion, going from 10th place up into 6th in Austria, and of course a podium in the opening race. So it's been a steady start to the season for the Alfa Romeo driver. He's gone flying rounds into turns 8 now, and now into 9. It's a car there, Mercedes just getting out of the way, got a little bit of traffic in front, and then this long left-hander of 10. It's a very late apex, want to gun the power as soon as you can because it's quite a wide exit. McLaren doing pretty well there to get out of the way on the DRS, onto the power, and then into the heavy braking of turns 11 and 12, really trying to hug the left-hand curb. And of course the last 2 corners really where you can sort of invalidate the only real time, leaves it in 5th gear, trying to get all the traction coming out around this last bank's corner, which is a bit treacherous in the wet conditions, it must be said. It comes across the line at 9.5, so P7 for Speed Queen.
Yeah, that's not a bad lap. She's still got time to improve on that. A lot of cars heading back into the pits now. I'm sure they'll be going for their second, possibly even third runs. As we know, it's only a short lap round here, so these guys, if they've gone softer on the tyre allocation, they could be looking at getting four time laps in.
Yep, and we're wide on board with, I think B-Stas might just be starting flying lap as good as his first, and we should be on for a trick. It looks like he's going quicker in that middle sector. There's a Ferrari driver now sling it around that last corner. He's going to gun it to the line and flick open DRS. He's going to come across the start finish line. Does he improve on his original time? He finds another half a tenth of a second to go into the point threes now. So I mean, already we're looking like we could have a bit of a dominancy going on between the top 2 guys.
Yeah, that's an incredible lap, to be fair, from B-Stas. Take my hat off to him. I can't see really anyone beating that. Monster Blue, he might have some time in the bag. We know he did last week. Just took pole off B-Stas as he went for his final run. But yeah, I can't really see many people getting too close to that. Mashiro's done a pretty decent time up there in P3.
Yeah, Mashiro looking like someone might just have an answer to the top 2 at the moment, but does Monster Blue have a reply to B-Stas? That is another question. Looks like Endurance on another fast lap. He currently sits P12 and moves up into P11 in the Williams, so he finds about a tenth of a second. I'm sure we'll be looking to find a little bit more of the Williams driver. We're going right on board with his teammate Hulkenberger, who's a little bit down on his middle, he's going a couple of tenths faster in this middle sector, so we'll see how he can do around this last section. A little upshift into third, short shift, giving the better traction, goes a little bit deep on the wide on the late apex of turns 13 there, but I'm sure he'll be early on the power and flick open DRS, see where he can go up. He doesn't quite improve, so he's actually lost that time in that last sector, so at least they know where he can find it. Currently down in P16.
Yeah, Lozak back out there now. I think he's on a lap. P4, so he'll be looking to improve. I'm not sure if he's up yet. He's just going through the middle sector. He is a tenth and a half up on his time, so he could be. I don't know if he can find any more time through here. He might be able to take P3 off Mashiro, but it's looking like that top 3 are just in a bit of a league of their own at the moment.
Well, the middle sector split is coming up around about now. See how much he is improving. He's another tenth and a half. So he's just got to keep a nice, clean last sector. The number 25 red car. What can he do around the last couple of corners? Of course, only this one you brake for. The last turn of 14. He's got very deep on the curb and almost losing it. Did very well to hold onto it. But does mean not only has he lost time, he has invalidated. And interestingly, he's not chose to come into the pit lane. So either he's just trying to do a second push lap here, or he's maybe just realised he has, even if he does come in, he won't have any more time. We're going to have a ride on board with the Racing Point or Vagilis, who looks like I think I might have even seen her facing the wrong way earlier on, so he might have had a spin on this lap at some point in that middle sector. So we're going right on board with the Mercedes or Soy Samuel, and what he can do in the Mercedes. A driver who's showing quite a lot of pace in his opening 2 races, but hasn't got an awful lot to show for it. He's only picked up 1 point in the opening round, so, and he was running very well. I think he's running about 7th or 8th going on to the last lap in Austria, but ended up with nothing due to a damaged front wing in the rain of the last couple of laps. He's going a little bit quicker in this first sector. He's got to be careful on that curve. Take it any more on the exit, you can find yourself invalidating. Got to sweep to the right as he then goes sweeping back to the left early on the power as soon as he can. Flick open DRS, we'll see what his middle sector time is. B-Stas and Monster Blue also on flying laps. I think one of the Ferraris is coming around this last corner. I think that might be Lozak. So we're going right aboard Monster Blue and Beastas very, very short. In fact, Monster Blue is right behind his teammate. So we'll keep an eye on Sawyer Samuel on the Delta, and we'll see what Monster Blue can do as he comes around the last corner. What does his teammate do? Does his teammate improve? He does. He goes up into P5. Monster Blue improves by almost 2/10 of a second, so it's come so close. 3/100ths of a second off the Ferrari. Beastas looks like he's going a little bit quicker still. What has the Ferrari got in his locker? But Monster Blue surely does look like he's got potentially a reply to the Ferrari drive, because that's a fantastic lap time. It's very, very quick, but Beastas is going quicker still. He's got purple in that middle sector, skipping over the curb to the right of 11 and 12, and then it's going to come around into turn 13. Can he absolutely nail it? He did on his last lap. He's gone very deep onto the curb, but he's just about got away without invalidating 0 rounds. The final corner flicks open DRS. The Ferrari driver is going to sprint to the line and is improved by another 0.5
Yeah, he just keeps eking out extra little bits of performance, doesn't he? That I'm sure is really frustrating for Monster Blue behind, who's probably pretty happy with his lap. That's a great lap. So yeah, Beastas just extending his advantage at the top. It would be good to see though Monster Blue challenge him in the race, because we don't want to. It's great to see people going fast, but we don't want to see a completely dominant race, do we?
No, of course not. We want to see a good close race. They're all in qualifying, particularly not in Austria. To the podium, should be finding a little bit of time left. Man, drift to get around 12 there. See what in his final couple of corners. The McLaren driver had a very bizarre race. Went pitted for intermediates, so he come into the pit lane, so improving, and we'll see what everyone else can do. As Frankland has gone up into P5.
Yeah, good luck from I Frankland. That's sure he'll be pretty happy with that. It's not a bad attempt. Further down, I don't know if we've got anyone else on the lap at the moment. M. Doran maybe has just started the lap, but he could come across a bit of trouble here. There's a lot of cars coming out of the pits for another run, so he could come across some traffic on this lap.
In the race P8, and he's still got a little bit to do in terms of his start to the season. Still yet to get a point is the Racing Point driver, as he's going to skip around and put it such a fast corner. This one down to the right hand, turn 7. He's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. It's a little bit, might have just put him off. A little bit of an eyesore, if anything. It's Hultari in this Alpha Tauri, as he does eventually get out of the way. We'll see what the Racing Point split time is. Comes up into the middle sector. Looks like he just lost a little bit of time. He is a couple of attempts down, and it's just gone a little bit deep there. Anyone else on a flying lap? I think most people in the pit lane or are on out laps. So we'll go and see what I think Nightshades could be just starting a lap very, very soon. We'll see what he's doing. Looks like he's just about to start a flying lap, I believe. In fact, he's used up a lot of battery, so I think he might be on a 4th push lap here or something. He's sat on a 15.9, so a good 6 seconds off the pace. We'll see if he can find anything left in his Alfa Romeo as it comes through this first sector now, down the hill to the right. Maybe just trying to use this as more of a practice session. The Alfa Romeo drive, more than anything, it's half a second down, so it does need to try and find a bit of time. Maybe just to practice for him. As I think Lozak's starting a lap as well now.
Yeah, Lozak starting in the middle of a lap at the moment, just coming up to the end of the second sector, I believe. I'm not sure he actually is on a lap. No, he's says he's on a lap, but he may have bailed out of this one. He's not using any ARS, so yeah, maybe just preparing himself for a lap. But what about Nightshades? Nightshades is coming to the end of the middle sector on his lap. He's 3 tenths up on his time, so could pop himself up round about the top 10, middle of the pack, which would not be a bad starting position. Maybe you just want to be just outside the top 10 so you can start on a nice fresh set of tyres.
It looks like Nightshades is sat in P6. If he can improve, moves up into P11, as you point out, be a pretty good start. Does mean tyres for the race. He can start the medium tyres if he would prefer. 1 minute 40 left on the clock. And we've got both Beastas and Monster Blue on outlaps. Mashiro is still in the pit lane, so he's going to have to be pretty sharpish if he wants to get in that final run. We'll go on ride on board with Meg Loveby to see how he's doing in the second Red Bull, and really hooking up turn. It's like going to come up the hill through the left and right into the downhill fast right-hander of 7. And he's just touched that inside curve, just lost the rear a little bit. He's held it together nicely though. He's coming into 8 and 9, and just want to try and keep it really tight, get on the power as soon as he can, try and get all the way over to the right hand side to open up turn 10. Is it now flick open DRS? What can the Red Bull driver do? Looks like he might have just backed off, so it could be just saving energy here and saving himself one last lap.
Yeah, Meg needing a good lap now, because doesn't want to be starting down in P15. He's out of position. We know how quick Meg can be, and especially in quali, he just needs to get a decent position and then try and hold it in the race. As we've seen in the first 2 rounds, he's made silly mistakes and end up putting himself way down the order.
Sorry, Samuel, I think again, just like McLaughlin, might have just backed off his last flying lap there to give himself a second chance of the cherry. As it looks like Beastas going, I think that might be an old Delta time there, but he's coming around the last sector now. He's already on provisional pole, but he knows Monster Blue, just like last week, probably has got a little bit of time left in him. He's still only a 10th off is Monster Blue, so Beastas knows he could find himself vulnerable if he doesn't improve this final time. The flag has fallen, so this will be the last laps, and he's found it again, just about a 10th of a second, so it's done a 0.2, which is a fantastic time for the Ferrari driver. What has Monster Blue got in retaliation? He's coming through the last sector now, he's flying it around the last couple of corners using all the curve available to him. We've got, oh goodness me, Lozak facing the wrong way. And what is the Mercedes going to do? He's done well to avoid the Ferrari driver, and he's gone quicker still, but it's not quite enough. What can Mashiro do? He's going to have to find about 4 or 5 tenths of a second if he wants to be on the front row. He's only half a tenth of a second improving on this second sector. We'll see what he can do around the last couple of corners. And the AlphaTauri driver, who's done well, much quicker than his teammate Hutari, who's crossed the line. He's in P10, so the championship leader has got a lot of work to do once again in the race. I'm sure he'll do very well, but Mashiro does improve his time on 8.6, so quite a big difference there between the top two. Mashiro seems to be in a land of his own, and Frankland 7 with a fantastic debut up into P4.
Yeah, Beastas just improving there at the end really sort of saved him from the oncoming Monster Blue. So yeah, Monster Blue I'm sure will be happy with his time, but probably a bit frustrated that he couldn't quite nick pole off of Beastas. Great quality from Mashiro. He'll be happy up there in P3. Really, he's not really too close to the front two on times, and he's not got anyone really too close behind him. I'm sure he'll be happy with that and trying to tag along with the front two in the race. So yeah, you got close times from 4th on downwards, so it's looking to be a good race.
Yep, absolutely, and I think Lopensky once again just dawdling around the last corner now, and I think we won't be too critical on his lap time there. I think perhaps just using this as a last-minute practice session for the Alfa Romeo drive, just practicing for his race pace. And so he's yet to score a point in the opening 2 rounds, but if he keeps a clean head and a few bit of luck from a safety car perhaps, or 2, or who knows, even some wet weather, we'll see what happens there. He could find himself within a shot of the point. The 2 Hasses 15th and 16th, but so shouldn't discount them. The 2 Haas drivers have done pretty well in terms of finding points. Ferocious Dan had another solid drive last time out, moving from P10 up into, I think it was about, it went from P15 to P10, I beg your pardon. So it was another good race in the points for the Haas driver. Mr. Steen, I don't think, could quite make it last week. But there is your order. Beastas on pole once again. Monster Blue in P2, Mashiro P3, Frankland on his debut in P4, Lozak in the Ferrari is P5, and McLovby there in the Red Bull starting P17. But again, probably shouldn't be too harsh on Meg. I did speak to him very briefly before the race. He didn't have much time to practice at all, So I think it would just be trying to get this one over and done with as soon as he can. But Soy Samuel in the Mercedes, once again showing good pace in P6. Simply Superman P7 in the McLaren. Vegelis in the Racing Point is P8. Speed Queen P9. Hultari, our championship leader, is P10. And Doran just starting outside, perhaps in the golden position, or P11. He gets 3 set of tyres. SD Mats in the McLaren. And then we have P13 Nightshades. Hulkenberg will be looking to redeem himself after the disappointment of Austria, 2 Hasses, and of course again McGlubby and then Lopensky rounding out the back row. But it seems, Charlie, just like Austria, it seems like as we were, it is going to be perhaps a straight shootout between Monster Blue and Beastas.
Yeah, it's looking that way at the moment, isn't it? I'm hoping maybe Mashiro and a couple of others, if they've got a bit better race pace, can get stuck in. But yeah, definitely from what we've seen in quali, it's looking like it's going to be a 2-horse race. So hopefully they're going to provide us some good battling.
Let's hope so. And of course it looks like the clouds have just come over and looks like the track almost looking a little bit damp there. I don't think it's any wet weather just yet, but we'll see what comes of it. Say wet weather is a bit of a recurring theme on this game, much like the last game. It just seems to be very, very popular. Real life, of course, you're going to get 3-4 wet races in a season. Here it seems to be every other race will be wet weather affected at some point. But of course these guys just waiting on a grid and just allowing time, so just try and perfect their strategy, see what they're doing in terms of tyres, see what they're doing, try and make up their last minute minds on fuel load, and of course just trying to get themselves prepared for the formation lap. But of course if you can't wait for this action and you can't wait to see any more, well, we have the F2 League on Xbox being streamed now live on the Twitch, on our Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. Wednesday night is F3 and F4 on the PS4. Jakob and Ryan bring you F3 and Jake will bring you F4 8 PM live on YouTube. Realistic on YouTube. PS4 Malcolm Tim bring you that on Thursday 8 PM, and Sunday Xbox F1 League, of course that'll be starting round 4 in China, those guys. And of course Monday night as always F1 League PS4, brought to you by Gareth and Sab. And of course on the socials, Instagram at Invictus Racing League, Twitter at Invictus RL, Facebook you can find photo albums, interviews with drivers, news and all that kind of good stuff. And of course if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up if you enjoy. And I think we should be just about ready to go, Charlie. But as we know, this is a very difficult circuit to overtake. But if you're Monster Blue, you know how quick Beastas is, and you've had a race-long fight with him last week out. He came second out on that one. What's he got to do to beat him tonight?
Well, I think what lost him the race last week was the penalties, wasn't it? I think maybe he just picked up one corner cutting penalty or something. But yeah, he just needs to keep it clean and really pick his moments when he's battling Beastas. He doesn't want to go too early and then leave himself vulnerable to attack at the end after using engine modes to defend. So yeah, he really just needs to pick his moments and just try and find his way, find his feet in the race, and then scope Beastas out from there.
Yeah, and we're just about set ready to start the formation of 18 drivers on the grid. And of course there is on the left hand side, we'll just go and get the information. There is a predicted strategy. Thank you Codemasters for this neat little presentation that you have. And of course lap 11 to lap 13 is where these guys on the soft tyres are going to be wanting to pit, and we'll see what tyres 11th down I've selected. And then Doran, interesting enough, quite often a favoured guy to go onto the alternate strategy, but he's going on the soft tyre, so he wants to keep in touch with the top 10. SD Mats and Nightshades have gone onto the hard tyres, interestingly, so they could be going forward alternate strategy. SD Mats, of course, in round 2 went on to the alternate strategy, did a very good job of it, in fact helped his teammate Simply Superman out a little bit, had a good battle between the two McLaren drivers when SD Mats was still yet to pit, and did a good job so well that he managed to get a couple of points from it as well. Nightshades also on the hard tyres in the Red Bull. Hulkenberger onto the mediums, Ferocious Dan onto the mediums. I'm sure he'll be looking to try and get even more points. Mr. Steen is following his teammate's suit, but going on a split strategy onto the hards. McGlubby onto the mediums, and Lopensky will be starting at the back on a set of hard tyres, so he'll be looking to go as long into this race as he possibly can. Of course, Beastas and Monster Blue, I'm sure they'll be looking to break away the best they can from the chasing pack. And of course it looks like if they can drop Mashiro, it could be a 2-horse race, Charlie, because Mashiro, to be fair to him, looks like if we're going off quali pace alone, it could be in for a lonely race, because he looks like he's a couple of attempts a lap off the likes of Monster Blue and Beastars, but he's also a couple of laps in hands of Frankland.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. He doesn't seem to be really any too close to anyone in terms of quali pace. So it could be a lonely race, but you never know. His race pace could be a lot better than his quali pace. Some people find it hard to nail a lap. I know I do in quali, and I tend to be a bit better in the race. So it could well be the case for him as well. And yeah, I'm hoping he can get in amongst it with the front two. We're on the grid, we've got our lights turning on and the lights are out, and the Ferrari's got a pretty good start. Monster Blue didn't get a good getaway at all. Actually, no, he's got better drive in the second phase of the start, and he's taken the lead. Great start from Monster Blue down to turn 1, and he's straight past the Ferrari and is moving away quickly. So yeah, good start from Monster Blue. Beastars is not going to be happy with that start, and he's going to try and cling on to the back of him, and got Mashiro just behind, fending off the Renault of Frankland. Frankland all over the back of him. I'm sure he's going to try and hound that AlphaTauri, but didn't quite manage to get him at the start there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start there from Monster Blue, and of course Beastars will be furious. That is good work of pole position, has gone against him. Mashiro has held on to P3. Looks like Soros Samuel's got the better of Lozak in the Mercedes, and Hultari's already made up a couple of positions. Speed Queen's gone backwards, and Enduran into the points already. SD Mats and Nightshades, it looks like, as you were, just got a ass at the back. It's a ferocious down. So after a couple of very good races, going from around 15th into the points, he's now stone dead last, and it looks like he's just lost it on the exit of turn 10 there. But as we finish this opening lap, it looks like Beastars is just about keeping with the Mercedes of Monster Blue, as Mashiro looking like he's almost dropping out of DRS range already, as it looks like further back got Lozak going wheel to wheel with Soros Samuel into turn 1. Lozak's got the inside line. What Soros Samuel do, is going to try and come back underneath him. He's come into turns 2 and 3. It's very, very difficult to get a move done here. It looks like we've got a little bit of a confusion here. Lozak, I can assure you, is not in the lead. He's about 5th or 6th, so I'm not quite sure why that's showing him into the lead. But we'll go on board with Simply Superman as we come up the hill. Looks like Soros Samuel maybe having some connection problems here with the ghosting setting on for the Mercedes car. I think there we are, that's better. So into 7th place for Simply Superman, chasing the Mercedes and Ferrari of Lozak and Soros Samuel. But Monster Blue has done what he needed to do, Charlie. He's into a very good position. He's got the clean air.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. It looked like Beastars initially got a really good start, and then just the second phase of the start, when the wheels kept spinning for Beastars, Monster Blue got it planted and just powered past the Ferrari. So yeah, great start from him, and I'm sure he'd be chuffed with that and trying to push on and break that DRS gap.
Absolutely. As you're going a little bit touch-wise, we come around this final bank corner. Great shot from the helicopter as Mashiro, new fastest lap of the race. So he's really putting himself in conversation. He's saying he might well not have had the qualifying pace of the top 2, but he's keeping in there and he's keeping with these guys. And Frankland as well, just about holding in range of the DRS, because DRS will be enabled on this lap, and Lozak equally just about hanging in there. Soros Samuel's dropped it out of the DRS of the Ferrari driver. We try and do our best to keep an eye out of the likes of P12 of SD Mats downwards, because these guys all on the hard tyres, so it's crucial for them, Charlie, you would imagine, at this early phase to stay in the DRS range while those soft tyres go off and then start to make their move.
Yeah, and also crucially, they don't want a safety car, those guys on the hards, because an early safety car for the guys on the softs will be like Christmas come early. They'll be able to bin those softs off and take a set of hards to the end, whereas the guys on the hards then will be still out there on those same hards, and they'll have all the guys on their fresh tyres right behind them, so effectively they would have lost the pit stop to those guys behind.
And we're right on board with the second AlphaTauri of Hultari, who's into P8. Of course, our championship leader's got a little bit of work to do. Of course, Beastars and Monster Blue very close behind him in the championship. It looks like Lopensky has had a little bit of a moment on the exit of turn 13 as a yellow flag out in that last sector. He's looked forward ahead. It's Samuel and Simply Superman going wheel to wheel into turn 1 as Beastas has had a moment with Monster Blue as well. So I think he might have got the move done into turn 1 with the DRS. As we're going wonderful back with Hortari for this battle for P6 and P7. And it looks like Samuel just about holding off, but he's now miles away from Lozak.
Yeah, Beastas did just send one down the inside of Monster Blue at turn 1. Ran him off out wide and got the move done, so a good move from Beastas, and I'm sure he'd be happy that he's regained the position that he lost at the start.
Yep, and Mashiro, as we were saying, keeping well in touch, and it's actually Frankland who could be in for a little bit of a lonely afternoon, as it turns out, because he's just about to drop out of the DRS range. On a move side, it turns turn of 13. And Hortari's going to try and hang it around the outside. He's being pushed onto the curb by the Racing Point driver. He's going to send it down the... But a very opportunistic move from the Racing Point driver. But what has Hortari got in response? Is he going to try and get that move back? You see the flashing light on the back of that Racing Point. And he's going to use his overtake, use his DRS. And he does go back into... So done by a bit of DRS.
Yeah, Frankland going along nicely down to P4. He's not in the DRS zone of anyone. He's just dropped it back from Mashiro a bit. Mashiro tagged along to the front two, quite nicely, and hopefully he'll be able to get involved in that battle and possibly challenge for the win. But yeah, Frankland going along quite nicely, and he can see those guys in front. Maybe he's just looking after tyres, preserving a bit of ERS and his engine modes. And yeah, it's looking like a strong debut so far from the Renault driver.
Absolutely, could be on for some very strong. But let's get back in touch with our front three. And yeah, as well. So it could be tough for Mashiro. Is really relying on Monster Blue making something happen.
The Nightshade is just out of turn 1, I believe, has just lost it and gone into the wall. I'm not sure if he made contact with anyone, but on those hard tyres, you're going to have less grip, and unfortunately, he's lost it and found himself in the wall. So Nightshade's out of this race. And as we said, an early safety car could mean that these guys on the soft tyres are all going to come in and bin those off. So let's see if they do that. They're not quite round to the pit lane just yet, coming through the middle sector. I'm sure they'll be thinking about it, some of them. The guys on the mediums maybe as well. Maybe they just get rid of them and go onto the hards. So it's people got some decisions to make. I've just seen a Racing Point in the wall actually. We're following a delta round. Vagelis has found himself in the wall in the middle sector. I'm not sure how he's done that following the slow delta round, but yeah, unfortunately for Vagelis, I think he's lost his front wing. So that'll be a wing change for him, and he'll be dropping right down to the back. Oh no, he hasn't. He has not got any front wing damage. I'm sure someone did, but yeah, he's dropped right back down to the back now, bar 2 cars, and that's unfortunate for him. So a few guys in the pits then, going for the Monster Blue, going onto the mediums. Beast has stayed out, interestingly. So is Monster Blue thinking that he's quick enough here for a 2-stop? That could be bold, if he can pull that off. He's only got 3 cars between him and Beastas, so if he can clear those quite quickly, he could find himself again in a handy position, because they're going to be bunched up behind the safety car. He's probably, with his pace, going to be able to make light work of the 3 guys in front. No disrespect to them, but yeah, maybe Monster Blue calling a bit of a strategic masterclass here. You never know. Let's see how it's going to play out. sure the safety car looks like it's going to be going round again, obviously, as we've not quite picked up all the guys on the back of the pack. Ferocious Dan just lingering around 18 seconds behind up Lipinski at the moment, just waiting for him to catch back up, so the safety car will go around again. While we wait for that, let's just have a little look at where everyone is. So Beastas and Soare Samuel, the two that stayed out on the softs. M. Doran 2, but he's a bit further down, so not quite sure what happened to him, how he dropped behind some of the hard and medium runners. But yeah, those guys are pretty much nailed into a one-stop. Whilst Monster Blue definitely looks like he's going for a two-stop, because I can't imagine that the mediums are going to go to the end from there. So it's going to be an interesting restart. Got guys like Frankland, who was running up in P4 before and dropped down to P10 now, and he's on the hard, so you'd expect him to go to the end. He's going to try and stretch it to the end at least. Should be able to do it from here. You've got a couple of laps under the safety car at slow speed, so you're not taking too much life out of the tyres. Simply Superman and Vagilis looking like they're locked into a two-stop on those mediums, because yeah, I definitely can't see them going to the end on those. If they do, then fair play to them, but I can't quite see that happening. Safety car is still out at the moment. We shouldn't be too far from getting the notification that it's going to come back in. Ferocious Dan has caught back up to the rear of the pack, and he's filtered into 16th place now, so it's looking like Beastas is backing off, so we must have got the notification to say the safety car is coming in this lap. Beastas obviously controlling the pace of the pack at the moment, and he's going to bolt when he feels he's ready. Safety car's obviously got to be into the pit lane, so he can't go before that, otherwise he will find himself slowing down, but it's looking like he's gone already, and he's completely chopped Monster Blue. Monster Blue caught unawares like that, and he's got a second gap already. That restart, that was a lovely launch by, sorry, Soare Samuel in second place, not Monster Blue, me getting mixed up. Yeah, so he's dropped Soare Samuel. Soare Samuel was sleeping there on the restart, and Beastas has gone, so Monster Blue's dropped down. Monster Blue must have been involved in it. There's been a big incident down the back of the field. Not quite sure what happened there. Wasn't riding on board with that one, but Monster Blue it looks like his race has been completely ruined, to be honest. So we're under another safety car now, because there was obviously a big incident on that restart. Didn't quite catch what it was, but Beastas is going to use this opportunity to get in and bin those soft tyres off, which is it's a wise decision by the looks of it. Quite lucky that he had that second safety car, and looking like he's picked up damage with whatever happened. Which is really unfortunate considering his great pace here.
I'm back.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties there as we come back under safety car. Monster Blue now pitting onto the hard tyres, and see what he can do from a lonely position of the unlucky P13, as Ferocious Dan and Nightshades now out of the race, as SD Mats now leads the field and be leading it under safety car restart. It looks like Lipinski also just going wide out turn 1, and we're going to see a real mix of strategies now, Charlie. Beastas in P6 going to the end on the hard, you would imagine, from this position. He's got a lot of work to do. It's been a bit of a mix of strategies and fortune for the front three, but Mashiro got track position. Of course, he's got a few cars ahead of him on the older tyres, but he could effectively be really in a strong position to now lead this race.
Yeah, Mashiro is definitely in a strong position. It's unfortunate for Monster Blue. I'm not quite sure what happened to him on the restart, but that's the risk you take, actually, losing track position. I know, you think, oh, it's a free pit stop, but there is always that risk that once you drop back into the pack, it only takes someone to lock up going into a corner, and you can find yourself facing the wrong way. And unfortunately, that's what he found. So now he's got a lot of work to do down from P13. But yeah, Mashiro somehow has sort of lucked his way into net P1. If he could put a few cars between himself, I know he's got Lozak there. I'm sure Lozak would dive out of the way for his teammate, you'd think. But if he can put a few cars in between himself and Beastas, he could be in with a decent chance at the win here.
Well, certainly like to think so. Of course, our top three should all be yet to pit, and we'll go on board with the detail now. And everyone has stopped at least once now, just the top three. So Mashiro on to a net pole position. Be interested to see what his approach will be for the front three at the moment. Does he try and risk it on track to get past and try and break away from the two Ferraris of Lozak and Beastas? And be interesting to see what does Lozak do. Does he fight his teammate? Does he let his teammate through? His teammate's clearly got that little bit more pace in him. Simply Superman just behind on the medium tyres, so he's going to have to look after them well. If he is going to go to the end, Monster Blue clearly didn't fancy those medium tyres. And going on to a set of hards P13, he's going to the end. He knows he's now, once the safety car does come in, it comes in on the end of this lap, so he's going to have about 25 laps or so of racing to really recover his position. He's gone from fighting for the win to really just fighting for points. Frankland as well onto a new set of mediums again, so he's going to have to look after these tyres. It's going to be a real mixed bag of strategies. No one fancying the soft tyres. I'm sure we might see SD Mats and Mr. Steen come in for a set later on. We could even find ourselves on for another safety car, who knows yet, as it looks like SD Mats might have just jumped the gun. No, he's just going to wait a little bit. Could well be facing up until the start finish line before he wants to go. Doesn't want to give anyone the slipstream, as looks like he has now jumped the gun, as they're almost in 2x2 formations that come streaming down into turn 1. Pit lane is now open. Looks like Mr. Steen is going down the inside of Hulkenberger, wheel to wheel with the Williams into turn 1. The McLaren going a little bit deep as well. They're still side by side on the exit. 2 Ferraris further back going wheel to wheel. A little bit of shove there from Beastas on his teammate Mashiro, looking well with intent. Luzak has got the inside for turn 3, and the Williams is going wheel to wheel. The front wing there, maybe one of the Ferraris, is damaged. Mashiro is side by side with Simply Superman, who's got himself involved, and they're still flying up into turn 7, up the hill and now back down it, and he's going, Mashiro's going wheel to wheel. Simply Superman, who just drives around the outside on those medium tyres. The Ferraris have switched positions. Beastas ahead of Lozak, got a yellow flag at the back, and I think that Suarez Samuel.
Yeah, it's all going on at the restart here. Mashiro just about managing to keep in front of Beastas. Is obviously going to be seeing Mashiro in front and thinking, right, that's who I'm racing. Simply Superman jumped the two of them, but he's looking like he's locked into a two-stop on those mediums, so I'm sure Simply Superman's going to want to clear the 3 guys in front pretty much straight away. Yep,
and Simply Superman looking like he's already on the back of Hulkenberger, as they're going to come down the home straight. Of course, no DRS just yet. He's going to wait a little bit more, and hasn't quite got the straight line speed to do it on a slipstream of his own. Gets super close to the back of the Williams and Hulkenberger, not far away from Mr. Steen in his own right as well. But Simply Superman, the man on the move at the moment, is Mr. Steen locking up into turn 3. It's very normal to do that, but what an exit the McLaren driver could be on for. He just couldn't quite get the power sorted to really give himself a good run up the hill. Of course, 5 laps on these medium tyres. Of course, I'm sure a lot of them done under safety car. Anyways, we'll come flying down the hill into turn 8 and 9. It can be a little bit bold if you want to try and send it. It's always, it looks like he's tapped the back of the Williams of Hulkenberger there, and he's got to be careful now because he's got Mashiro to his right hand side. He's going to take the tighter line in. Beastas as well, looking really hungry with intent in the Ferrari, and an absolute nose to tail. Beastas looking like he's going for the move on Mashiro, maybe even pressuring the AlphaTauri to make a move on the McLaren. Beastas trying to take all sorts of lines to try and get a bit of an advantage on the exit. Lozak has completely dropped back as well, so he's had an incident somewhere behind his teammate, as Frankland's got himself back up into P8, and Monster Blue already back into the points.
Well, I think on that restart, I think maybe you alluded to a Ferrari losing a bit of front wing. That could have been Lozak, because he's just pitted, so that's why he's back down at the back of the pack there. So yeah, unfortunately for Lozak, looking like he was caught up in some sort of incident.
And see a really good move there from Simply Superman into turn 1. He's gone up into P3 and is only a few tenths behind the Haas now of Mr. Steen, and SD Mats has pulled away a little bit. Mashiro knows he's got to get the move done on this Williams. Doesn't want to get held up because he's almost being hunted by the Ferrari of Beastas, and Hultari's got himself back up into P7 as well, just behind these two. So once again, our championship leader is looking like he's getting himself back up into the mix for the top positions when this front three all pit, and Simply Superman just half a second behind Mr. Steen in the Haas now, as we'll see what Beastas can do. Is weaving to the inside, I think just trying to get in the mirrors of the AlphaTauri more than anything, but he's got to be careful because as Mashiro gets well over the curves into turn 13, they're just a little bit way too tight there. It's going to compromise his exit as well as we come around the right hand of turn 13. He's going to have to floor the power. But even though he needs to get this move done, but it seems, if anything, he seems to be falling back on the from the Williams on this lap.
Yeah, he does need to get this move done, and he's not close enough. And Beastas looking like he's going to have a little bit of a look down the inside of Mashiro there, but maybe just trying to put the AlphaTauri off, make him lock up and go wide or something, and just seeing if he can slip through. But it's all very close in that part of the field at the moment, isn't it? Just separate each car, separated by under half a second at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can ride on board, hopefully, with Simply Superman in the McLaren, who is once again hounding the back of that Haas car for a current P2 position on his medium tyres. He needs to make them last the distance, but he also needs to get the maximum of performance out of those medium tyres while they're still semi-fresh, you could say, as Mashiro is still looking at the back of that rear wing. As Mr. Steen, looks like SD Mats has had a mistake somewhere because he's completely locked up and he's come very slowly and he's lost the position. Now he's got his teammate hounding all over the back of him, and SD Mats, after having quite a good restart, breaking the DRS of Mr. Steen, has clearly had a really scruffy couple of laps here because he's now lost the position. He now picks up a 3-second time penalty for running wide on the exit. Has his tyres called for enough? He's going to stay out for another lap. Mashiro is going 3 wide with Hulkenberger and Hulkenberger says thank you very much, can come back down the inside. Mashiro with the better traction on the newer tyres, going to hang it around the outside for turn 2. He's got the job done finally on the Williams. The Williams go deep on the brakes, and Hultari looking at the back of that Ferrari, but 3 wide down the home straight. Fantastic bit of racing.
And Hultari's lost it and gone off and possibly collected someone else. It might have been Speed Queen, I'm not sure. He shot across the track and put someone off. It might have been Speed Queen that just lost out there, but yeah, Beastas, crucially for Mashiro, he's been able to put a car between himself and Beastas, so if he can do that just once more, get past one of these McLaren drivers, SD Mats, you know, struggling, he could put himself a couple of cars ahead of Beastas. It could be crucial, you know, if he can just build that gap, break that DRS and just push on, he could be looking good for this race.
And SD Mats is having another error in that last sector. You can just see the AlphaTauri of Mashiro now going around his outside into turn 13. So SD Mats really not. I'm not sure if he's got any damage. I couldn't see any damage on that front wing as Beastas zooms past the Williams. The Williams comes into the pit lane. So an easy move there for the Ferrari. Well, I think he would have had the move done anyway. But he's got to get on with it, Beastas, because he wants to stay with the back of Mashiro. And Simply Superman in his own right has taken the lead off Mr. Steen, and he's going to be wanting to try and build a gap. Still about 20 laps to go of this race, so he's still got a long way to go before he can claim victory. And Mashiro all over the back of Mr. Steen as we come up down the hill of 7. Well, a hug the inside, of course, dirty air be affecting him quite dramatically, I would have thought, and of course into 8 and 9, and has got DRS zone upcoming. Mr. Steen looks like he might just be about to fall out of DRS of the McLaren in front of him, so this could make life a bit easier for the AlphaTauri driver. But see, he does have DRS on this little bit of section. What can Beastas do in the Ferrari? Still stuck behind SD Mats, but it's very much a case of Mashiro. If he can get past Mr. Steen and just stick with Simply Superman, you'd think the race lead would very quickly fall into his hands. Yeah,
you do think so. Simply Superman obviously looking like, as we said, he's got fit again. So Mashiro just needs to clear. He's got a bit of a run on Mr. Steen now. He could. No, he's too far back to send it from there. But closes right up to the back of that Haas car in the braking zone. Yeah, he needs to clear this Haas. You know, Beast Haas is now past SD Mats. and is going to be in the back of Mashiro, so it's crucial that he does pass him.
Yep, he's gone back up to the hill, and simply Superman not really pulling the sort of gap you would expect on a newer set of medium tyres. Still sort of touch and go in terms of breaking the DRS of Mr. Steen, who's on 17 lap old hard tyres. So of course he started on these hard tyres, and we're looking to go a little bit longer yet before he goes on to a late set of soft tyres, you would imagine, or maybe even a set of mediums. We'll see what Mashiro can do, of course, fresh with the knowledge of Beastas right behind him. As we come around turns 12 on exit, now turns 13 and 14, and Mr. Steen really comfortably in the DRS of that McLaren. The McLaren really struggling in the clean air, it seems, not really pulling away at all. Mr. Steen even coming back at Simply Superman on this lap. Beastas not anywhere close enough on Mashiro. Mashiro darting to the inside just to get in the mirrors of Matt Haas driver, as Frankland also very close to the back of SD Mats. I'm sure he's next in the queue to really put some pressure piling on that McLaren. Monster Blue once again back up into the points of P9. Hutari keeping with Frankland in P6 and P7, as the Renault almost pushing the McLaren up the hill into 7 and 8. But it's quite surprising, Charlie, isn't it, that Simply Superman seems to have the speeds. He seems to be roaring past all these cars with those medium tyres, but now he's got the clear air that he wanted. He can't seem to do anything with it.
Yeah, maybe he just took a little bit too much life out of those tyres. I mean, I'm not quite sure myself what the life of the medium round here is like, and it is a very aggressive track, so it could well be the case that he's just attacked a bit too hard, overtaking those cars. But yeah, it's not really going to work out for him if he doesn't pull some kind of gap, because he's got to pit again. So, saying that, he will be quick at the end on fresh tyres.
Yep, and ST Matt's having a little bit of a moment out the last corner, and down the inside goes Frankland, so an easy move for him. Further back, looks like Monster Blue is having a run at Endurance, going to go around the outside of turn 1. The Williams is going to hug the inside line, but the Mercedes has just enough grip to drive around his outside and move up into P8, and I'm sure he'll be trying to slice his way through the field a little bit more. What can Mashiro do? He's still all over the back of that Haas car. It seems to be just catching up into the wrong moments. Of course, he can't really overtake in this section of the track. Down the right to the right-hander. And of course you can sort of send it down the inside of turn 10 if you can get a nice exit. Of course he has got much better tyres, but of course Mr. Steen's only 7 laps older. And of course a lot of those have been under safety car. But what can Mashiro do? Of course it is making his life a lot harder, the fact that Mr. Steen does have DRS on Simply Superman. Simply Superman acting as if his medium tyres have already gone off. And we could see him into the pits very, very shortly, should that be Dawn right on the back of Mercedes. But I mean, look at this, all of the top 10 within a second of the car in front. In fact, 11, so we've got a fantastic battle for the points here. There's Giro is really hot with Hawkeyes looking at the battle for the lead. Mr. Steen trying to go around the outside of the McLaren. We've got a yellow flag somewhere. I think that might be Lipensky at the back, but Mr. Steen drives clean around the outside of the McLaren. We've got another safety car, so I think that might be caused by Lipensky, I believe. I'm not sure what he's doing. I think he's just at the bottom of the hill of turn 7, but a third safety car, and well, just in time for Mr. Steen. It could be an ideal chance for him to pit on for a new set top. Just taking the lead with a fantastic move.
Yeah, ideal for Mr. Steen, and also Simply Superman. He could sack those mediums off from here and go for another set of the medium, which I'm sure will take him comfortably to the end. Yeah, the safety car was caused by Lipensky doing whatever Lipensky does. He's lost his front wing. Yeah, so there's obviously debris on the track, and that's the reason we've got another SC.
And Sawyer Samuel into the pit lane once again. I think Lozak has also come in for a new set of medium tyres. Both these two have shown real good pace once again. P14 and P15 for the Ferrari and the Mercedes respectively, as Mr. Steen stamping on the brakes there, maybe just going a little bit red into his delta and almost causing a chain reaction of breaking front wings there, so he's got to be a little bit careful. We'll see what these top 2 guys in particular do. Do they come in? What does Mashiro do? Does he stick with his hard tyres to the end, or does he fancy a set mediums as well? He's coming into the pit lane. No, he's a very late dive to the edge. two of the track, and Bistas doing exactly the same to Mashiro, almost identical between the AlphaTauri and the Ferrari driver, looking as if they're going in right to the last minute, pulling out. So I think just mirroring what they were doing, and it's going to be a real chain reaction further back as Mr. Steen going along on those hard tyres has really paid off dividends for him, because he's going to come out on a fresh set of medium tyres into P3, and I think Mashiro and Bitas might be regretting that they didn't pit if they saw that every single car effectively behind them is now going to have a new set of boots and be absolutely charging at them.
Yeah, he is going to be charging at them, and wow, it's interesting. Mr. Steen is now in a really good position. If he's got some pace here, he could be challenging for the win, really, if he's got the pace to, well, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure where he was in qualifying, but he only needs to really be within a few tenths of the guys in front to have a sort of delta on those tyres to challenge them. So he's in a very handy position. Simply Superman, maybe, not sure what tyres he started on. Maybe he just didn't have another set of mediums, or he couldn't choose a medium again. So that's him out there on the hard. So he's going to probably come under attack from the guys behind, actually, on those mediums.
Yep, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what Simply Superman can do. And once again, Hutaro, who started P10 this race, is already up into 5th position on a brand new set of mediums. He's really well placed to potentially get himself onto the podium. There's Speed Queen as well, up into 7th. Dawn having a great race, up into 6th in the Williams. And Monster Blue on a fairly new set of medium tyres in 11th. So he's got a lot of work to do. Franklin 7 on a new set of hard tyres in P12. We know how quick he's been. He's really shown that on his debut, so we can be very proud of that. But he's got work to do if he wants to get points on his first race here at Invictus. Ogbago and Sawyer Samuel have absolutely nothing to lose. New set of medium tyres for the pair of them. They're 14th and 15th, and I think Sawyer Samuel's just about to catch the back of this queue of this safety car. Now I very hope this safety car comes in, hopefully at the end of this lap, as Sawyer Samuel is just about to catch that queue now. We've got a real race on our hands. What can Mr. Steen do in the Haas? We did say the Haas drivers do seem to like the race a lot more than qualifying. They've not really qualified anywhere near the top 10, never mind in it, in the opening 2 rounds. But it was a double point scoring results for the 2 Haases in France, and Froschstam picked up a point in Austria after starting P15, and out of nowhere Mr. Steen finds himself potentially not just in a podium position, but I would say, Charlie, in 3rd place with a new set of mediums, hard tyres and old hard tyres on the 2 cars in front of you. He's probably in the best position, even if he's not necessarily the quickest driver. Yeah,
it's definitely a strong position to be in. He's just got he's jostling with for position here with Simply Superman. I'm not sure if it's looking like they're going to go for the restart this lap. The safety car is in this lap, so yeah, he's definitely in a strong position. He just needs to actually capitalise on the fact that he is there where he is, and use those tyres to the best effect. So realistically, he's going to want to get past those guys early on and try and build a bit of a gap if he's got the pace.
Well, he's certainly got the confidence on the brakes into turn 1. We saw that with a fantastic move earlier on with Hulk. I think it was around the outside of the McLaren driver of Simply Superman just before the safety car came out, but Mashiro has jumped the gun, and the top 3 absolutely seamlessly away. Bistas already looking at the back of Mashiro into turn 1. Does he go for it immediately? He has a little look, thinks better of it, so they're going to stay in nose to tail. Look at Mr. Sheen already, so much better drive out of turn 1, almost pushing the Ferrari up the hill into 2. Has got another yellow flag, and is that Lozak this time? It looks like he's had a spin on the exit of turn 1. We're going right aboard with Bistas, who's all under all sorts of pressure already, and of course that's the good thing with Mashiro. He's got track position on the Ferrari, but more importantly, he's not first in the food chain, if you like. These hard tyres are really not, as quick as Bistas is, these hard tyres are not doing him any favour, and he could be in danger of being swallowed up by a lot of quick drivers here. And Mashiro might want to try and get the foot down the best he can, because he would know he will be next the moment these guys get past him.
Yeah, Mr. Steen pressuring Bistas really hard at the moment, and it's good to see, to be honest, because as we said in quali, it's looking like it's going to be a bit of a 2-horse race, but well, that's gone out the window, hasn't it? It's been nothing like it, but it's good. It's much more entertaining. We like to see different drivers getting stuck in. You know, safety cars obviously had a bit of drama here and there, so it's been good. So yeah, hopefully Mr. Steen can continue to challenge that Ferrari in front.
Yep, 12 laps to go, then a second is the separation of first and second, so Michaud looks like he's got just a little bit of better life on his hard tyres, or at least got them into a little bit of a better tyre temperature window for that safety car restart. But basically trying to come back at the AlphaTauri now. What can Mr. Steen do? Of course, Dutch driver at his home Grand Prix into third position. I'm sure he never thought he would be in with 11 laps to go here at Invictus, but here he is, and he's in a great position for even more should he have the balls for it. If we can get close enough to the back of that Ferrari, Hultari as well looking of interest as Lozak. I think he's just pulled into the pits to a tyre, so a disappointing race for Lozak after showing such promise in qualifying in that second Ferrari. And of course Ferrari second in the constructors after the opening 2 rounds. Still got a lot of work to do on the AlphaTauri cars, and Mashiro leading, and of course Hultari looking strong in 5th. That's not a great result for Ferrari. Bistas is in a good position to pick up some solid points for him, but we'll see what Simply Superman can do as well on those hard tyres. You can feel maybe for the last couple of laps his tyres could be that little bit better than the likes of Mr. Steen ahead of him on those mediums. Could well start to overheat potentially. Still got a yellow flag in this first sector, so the marshal's taking a little bit of time to clear the car, but DRS finally enabled, and Mr. Steen, I'm sure, interestingly, is dropped, looking like he's on the verge of dropping out of it. But it could be a real favour for him if Mashiro can drop Bistas. It could make his life so much easier.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Steen, unfortunately, looking like he's run out of steam a bit, and he's not going to be able to challenge the Ferrari in front as it stands at the moment. Yeah, maybe just use the best of those tyres, and the other two have just settled into a groove and started to pull away a little bit.
And here comes Monster Blue then. He's up into P9. He's got medium tyres, but he's at the back of a very long queue, I'm afraid, and he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get back around the podium positions, which of course he was earlier on in the race, and not an easy step to overtake. We also already know this, and so we're going right aboard with speed into the camp and see what happens. Straight as we see into turn 1, still status quo. Mr. Steen now losing DRS on Bistas, it looks like, and he could come under pressure quite quickly. As we see Monster Blue looking like he's taking the outside line round Vigilus, and just taps them on the inside of turn 2, and the Racing Point driver spun around. Another yellow flag, just about manages to get it rejoined. It does gift a position to the second Mercedes, Oswald Samuels. Such a quick corner, so easy to make a mistake, and looks like those are just the smallest of taps as sent the Racing Point driver around.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't quite catch that one, but still Mr. Steen not quite clinging on to the back of Bistas, so it's looking like he's going to drop out of that fight for the top 2 and possibly hold the guys behind up, as he's starting to form only a little bit of a train. There's a few drivers catching up. Yeah, so unfortunate for Mr. Steen, but it doesn't look like he's quite got the pace tonight.
No, of course, qualified down in about P16, I think it might have been, for the Haas drive this evening. So, but I'm sure he'll be very pleased with his evening's work even so. And of course, he is still keeping with them. Of course, their hard tyres will be going off towards the end. You would imagine the mediums should be good right to the end, as Monster Blue sets a new fast up of the race and is trying to get past almost 2 cars in one. I think it got past Speed Queen down the home straight, and he's gone down the inside of M. Doran into turn 1. So Monster Blue has not given up his fight for this podium yet, and he's 1.3 seconds behind Hultari, who's in a bit of a stalemate with Simply Superman and Mr. Steen. So more positions could be up on the horizon for the Mercedes drivers. Bistas getting so close as well to the back of Mashiro.
Yeah, Bistas is getting very close, and I'm sure I haven't seen either driver pick up a penalty, so I'm sure Bistas is going to be pushing him hard to the end of this race for the win. Bistas on 3-lap fresher tyres as well. I mean, that shouldn't make too much of a difference, but you know, mentally that can make a difference. If Mashiro's thinking, oh, my tyres are older than him, you know, it's possibly going to get in his head a little bit, and maybe a few mistakes will start to creep in.
Yeah, and Hultari, I'm sure, will be pleased again with his evening's work. He knows that his evening was compromised from qualifying. He's using that overtake button out of the last corner. See the flashing light of Simply Superman. He's saving battery down his home straight. He's weaving left and right. He's going to go defensive to the inside line. What can Hotari do? He's going to wheel to wheel into turn one. He's going to got the medium tyre, so he's got a little bit of extra grip. He's just struggling for traction a little bit. They bash wheels on the exit. They're going into turn two, and it's almost an exact replica of what we saw of Monster Blue and Vagilis. As we see now, a complete drop down of Simply Superman. He's really struggling to get that McLaren back facing the right way. He's probably got his tyres up to 100 degrees and more so on the rear, and he's dropped all the way down from about P4 to outside the point. So disaster for Simply Superman after such a strong race. So we've seen almost in identical laps, Charlie, going side by side into turn two. Doesn't look like it works.
Yeah, it doesn't really work, does it? It's just another, looks like a bit of a racing incident to me. Two guys trying to go through such a fast corner. The one on the inside is always going to understeer, and you're always going to get that result. So yeah, well, you're always going to result in one of them crashing. So unfortunately it was Simply Superman this time, and he's come off worse out of the two.
But another favourite for Monster Blue. Started this safety car restart outside the points. He's now into P5 and still got a chance of some more as further up Mashiro starts lap 30. Only 4/10 of a second behind is Beastas, but still can't quite get close enough. What can Hutari do? He knows he's one of the drivers who, if he can get past Mr. Steen, he might have the pace to try and close up the gap. Monster Blue certainly will if he can get past this Haas, but this Haas has proven to be a pretty wide car this evening, and the Dutchman at the Dutch Grand Prix is having a fantastic evening and looking like he's going to secure some real points for Haas, even if he does drop off this podium place. But we'll see what the finishman can do, and has come down a hill into 8 and 9, and looking like he's just lost a little bit of time through this section. Beastas just sticking right to the rear of Mashiro, but has he got the straight line speed to realistically make a move? He's a little behind on the rear wing. Monster Blue is looking also equally close to the back of the AlphaTauri car, but a little bit of just to follow the leader a little bit in terms of DRS. Of course, only really turn one is your best overtaking opportunity. The second DRS zone really is a little bit of a gimmick. It doesn't really give you, it's not quite a long enough straight, and it's to really get the job done, and it's pretty hard really to stay close on the exit of turn 10. But here comes Hotari then, also further up the road. Looks like I've got Beastas and Mashiro going wheel to wheel into turn one. Beastas has sent it down the inside onto the hard tyres, and it looks like he's just about got the move done. The Ferrari moves up into the lead, and it looks like Hotari has just squeezed past the Haas as well into P3. So change of position. One's AlphaTauri's moved forward, and the other has moved back.
Yeah, crucial for Beastas, because if those guys on the mediums are going to start coming at him towards the end, then like you said earlier, he doesn't want to be the first in the food chain. So it's crucial that he's got ahead of.
Oh, so it's Mr. Steen's just tapped the curb on turn 7 there. He's just lost the wheel all over, and it's been an easy move there from Monster Blue up into P4. So 5 laps to go. A little bit of a mistake there from Haas driver. He's lost 2 positions after being so solid. He's lost 2 positions in about half a lap, sadly for him. He's got a bit of an easier time behind because he's now got a 2-second gap, but it is an easy move there for that for the Mercedes driver of Monster Blue. But with 5 laps to go, Charlie, we've got 2 drivers who we know are very, very quick. As Mr. Steen has just lost it on the exit of turn 12. He's come back across the track, and thank goodness that ghosting's turned on. A little bit of a cheeky reset to track or something there. I think it's just going reset his car, but he's up into P8, but his tyres can be red hot after that, and he's going to come under immense pressure immediately from Soy Samuel.
Oh yeah, Suarez Samuel just has to weave to go round him right at the last second. That was a bit dodgy, but yeah, Suarez Samuel up past the Haas, and that's really unfortunate for the Haas of Mr. Steen. He's still up 7 positions, although he did reset the track. He was up 11 positions with the P5 that he was currently running, was running in before. So it's unfortunate, but these things happen, and when you're pushing hard, and you're always going to make mistakes. So yeah, it's still a relatively good race from the Haas driver.
Yeah, not a great lap as it turned out. It was lap 31 for the Dutchman, running P3 as he crossed the start-finish line. He's finished it in P9. So a little bit of misfortune there for the Haas driver. He's going to have to be just a little bit careful that he just gets his rear tyres back under a nice temperature, that he can get back on the front foot, hopefully, and maybe try and regain a couple of positions, or at least hold on to P9. But we'll look further up the grid, and it's Monster Blue hustling and harrying the AlphaTauri of Hutari. And Hutari not quite making the inroads into the top 2 as you perhaps would have expected, but what can the Mercedes do? And sure, he's using a little bit of overtake out the last corner, DRS wide open. It's not quite close enough this time. Of course, he is looking for a podium, and I'm sure he'd take a podium after quite a strategic error, in hindsight, it would be fair to say, from the Mercedes driver. Has dropped him back, had a couple of incidents, but it looks like McLuppy's also made a pit stop on the previous lap. A bit of a night to forget for the Red Bull driver, and it's been a tough start to the season for him. We know he's quick. He's had a couple of good form in pre-season races coming into this, but it hasn't quite just worked out for him just yet, McLuppy. I'm sure his time will come. There's a couple of mistakes here and there, but who knows? With 4 laps to go, I think we've had just about everything happen, so could be another thing for him to happen yet, as Mashiro is just keeping with B-Stats. He's in about 7 to 8 tenths of a second throughout almost the entirety of the lap, but to overtake Charlie really around this track, you need to be within probably about 4 or 5 tenths minimum.
Yeah, you do need to be close, and you also need to be pressuring your opponent into taking unorthodox lines. You need to really be pushing on the back of them and trying to force them into using parts of the track that they wouldn't want to compromise their exits and things like that. As we see Monster Blue now moving up into P3.
Yeah. He certainly likes turn 1, doesn't he? And he uses the DRS and overtake to great effect. And with 3 laps to go, he's 3.3 seconds behind the top 2. And he's looked like a man on the mission on these medium tyres. Since the safety car restart, he's been absolutely on fire. And got a yellow flag. I think that might be Vagelis just losing it on the exit of turn 1. I think he's got back going quickly, the Racing Point driver. But a bit of a night to forget for him. He had quite a strong qualifying session. And it's looked quite promising for him, but it's not quite panned out that way for him. As we'll have a quick ride on board with Speed Queen, who has been looking at this Williams rear wing for quite a few laps now, and I've seen that Delta flux from no more than about 4 tenths of a second for about 3 laps now. But has she got the straight line speed to get this position done? And Dawn will be very thrilled, I'd imagine, with P5. But those medium tyres will be getting a little bit older around about now, and those hard tyres of the likes of Franklin 7, who's quickly catching up with these two, could suddenly really put himself in the quest once again for another P5. Of course, he was running in around 4th position before the start of quite a few safety cars that we had at this race, as Speed Queen just not having the straight line speed at all that she needs to really pressure this Williams into a mistake. As we look at the delta between Monster Blue and Mashiro, it's come down about half a second in about a lap, but only 2 laps to go, so it looks like it could be third place and no more from Monster Blue, providing penalties don't shake up the order anymore. Mashiro looks like he's finally run out of tyre life, and he's finally lost the rear of that Ferrari. It's a 1.3 second gap, so B-Stats looking like he could be on his way to a second successive victory. But Charlie, our debutant in Franklin 7, in the Renault, onto the back of these two, and he's had an up and down debut. It looked like he could be on for a podium at one point. Looked at another point there, wouldn't even get a single point, but up into 7th, fighting for P6 and P5. He's had a really strong day, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has had a really strong day. Unfortunately, he dropped down due to strategy and maybe just getting a bit unlucky with those safety cars, but he has had a strong day, and I think really his pace was as much better than where he's actually currently running. So yeah, he should be pretty happy with his performance, to be honest. I've been quite impressed by him, and I'm sure he'll have better races to come.
Absolutely, look forward to seeing him later on in the season for F2, as we'll see what Speed Crew can do on this final lap, the closest battle on track. And the safety cars have really spiced up this race a treat. But it is still somehow it's still the same front 3 that it was in qualifying. Slightly different order though this time. Mashiro is going to finish in P2 by the looks of it, as long as he can keep a nice, good, clean last lap. As Franklin's looking all over the back of Speed Queen up into turn 7. It's come down the hill into 8 and 9. And looking really impatient is the Renault driver, wanting more. Speed Queen gets so close to the back of that Williams, is now going to go wheel to wheel into 10. What can the Renault do? He's going to try and go around the outside. Might be looking just to try and get a better exit. He's going to have DRS, so too is Speed Queen. The Renault's going to dart to the inside, and he's going to go late on the brakes. If we can just slow it down in time, we just about can. We're going right on board with B-Stas, who for the second successive week wins here at Invictus F2. Does penalties deny him? It does not. Mashiro and Monster Blue are going to round out the podium. Fantastic job from them. Hotaru goes from 10th to 4th, the championship leader. I think he might have just relinquished his championship lead. And Dawn holds on to P5. Franklin does hold on to P6. A great last move on the last lap on the Alfa Romeo driver, Mr. Steen. I'm sure he'd be a little bit disappointed at P8 because he knew P5 or P6 was there for him, but it's good points for the Haas driver, and from where he qualified he can be very happy with his evening. Soy Samuel covers too a couple of points. Hulkenberger gets and rounds out the top 10, and crazy race there, Charlie. One that was completely determined really by safety cars and who made the most of them. Mr. Steen there, given driver of the day by the graphic on our screens. Who would you say was your driver of the day?
I'm going to give it to the winner this week. I'm going to give it to Beastas. He didn't have it all plain sailing. He had some overtaking to do, and his qualifying performance was again outstanding. So yeah, I'm going to give it to Beastas this week. But a notable mention again, Hutari. Didn't qualify greatly, but just so consistent in the race and does have decent race pace as well, so moved himself up. And Mr. Steen, he did have that mistake towards the end, but a valiant effort from him as well.
Yep, and there's your top three, and I'm sure we'll be hoping to get a little bit of a question in for those three as well. So a really job well done, and fastest lap for Beastas as well, so that really is the cherry on top of the cake. And Monster Blue, just like in qualifying, just half a tenth off fastest lap, so a little bit of a shame for him. But those are your front three. M2 on a fantastic race on P11 into P5, and Frankland a debut P6, and of course Hulkenberger rounding up the last 10. And Simply Superman, shame for him, he's running up really well, and he finishes just outside the points in P11. The second McLaren, Estimat's in P12. Vagelis, shame for him, contact with the Mercedes driver dropped him down the order. McLubby, another race to forget, I'm sure looking to come back stronger in P14. And of course there did not finishes of Lozak, Lipensky, Frostan, and sadly Nightshades we lost early on as well. And I think we're just waiting to hear, I think our top three might just be joining now, and just quickly go and ride you through of course what we've got coming up later on the week here at Invictus. Of course Wednesday nights of course is the F3 and F4 leagues streams live on YouTube 8 PM. PS4 leagues here on YouTube 8 PM every night, brought to you by Ryan and Jakob, that's F3, and Jake brings you F4. Thursday night realistic PS4 from Malk and Tim, and of course Sunday night you have Xbox F1 League, and of course Monday night F1 League PS4. Xbox streams live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. You can hit us up on the socials at Invictus Racing League. You can find us on Twitter at Invictus RL, and of course Facebook. You can find us where we've got all the photo albums, interviews to drivers, news, and lots more. And subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And I'll just check if we've got our top three in. I think we've got Monster Blue and Mashiro, so that's good. We'll see if Beastas can join us in a little bit, but we'll move on to our second place man, Mashiro. If you just make sure you've got your mic set to allow to be shared so we can hear you on the stream. You had an up and down race, Mashiro, but you did very well. In qualifying you looked like you was in a bit of a league of your own. You didn't have the pace of the top two in qualifying, but in terms of the race, it looked like you was really there or thereabouts. You had a very strong race pace.
Yeah, indeed. The qualifying was okay.
Michelle?
Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties, but the qualifying was okay. I had a lap on my last one. I was a 10th up or something like that, so I was pretty sad that I couldn't get P2 in qualifying, but the race was amazing. I really had a good time, so
yeah, you did a really good job, and you came home second. Of course, it was a really good battle between you and Beastas for the win. You picked up your first podium, I believe, of the season. I think but in terms of the Constructors' Championship with AlphaTauri, your teammates had a very strong start to the season. You've been pretty consistent into the points. Is that your target, to try and win the Constructors this season?
Yeah, Constructors is number one at the moment. I am pretty sure I'm not going to get the drivers. I had a pretty poor start to the season. France was not that good, and I was P4 because the rain in Austria. But I'm pretty happy with the results I got right now for the whole season. I hope I can keep it up, the consistency, and win the constructors with Atari.
Absolutely, looking very, very strong. And one last question: how are you looking for China? Is this a track that you're very favourable at? Of course, you say you didn't have a great start at France, but these last 2 races have been a lot better. Can we expect that in the next round?
I'm not a fan of China actually, so that's it's going to be a hard one. But I'm going to try my best, do everything I can, and go for it. Just send it.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck to you. Fantastic race from you tonight, and congratulations on the second place. And we'll move on to our third place man, Monster Blue. Once again, I'll just reiterate to make sure you've got your voice allowed to be shared so we can hear you live on stream. Congratulations. You had a bit of I think it'd be fair to say, an up and down race. It looked like you was on for the win. Looks like you was then, had a couple of times you was out of the points, but you covered really well up into P3.
Yeah, for sure. It was, as you said, it was really up and down. Start went perfect, got the lead, and I was quite happy with staying where I was. Quite happy to being overtaken because I knew ERS was quite hard to manage on this. So people using the ERS behind me, then I'm quite happy with that. And then after the safety car, my rear tyres were just stone cold, and I used overtake out of the back hairpin and just spun out completely. Luckily, didn't get any wing damage. I don't know how. And then really, it was just a recovery drive from there. And if you told me halfway through the race that I'd get a podium, I wouldn't have believed you. So I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, and saw you go wheel to wheel with Vagelis in I think it was turn 2. We saw quite a few cars going side by side turn 2 with similar consequences. Had a couple of incidents in there. What are your thoughts on these? Is it a racing incident?
With Vag, I did not see him. It sounds dumb, but I didn't expect him to come up my inside. And with the new arrow system, I'm not quite used to it yet, and it was blocked by my MFD. So I didn't expect him to be on my right hand side, and I didn't see him with the arrows. So I apologise to him. So if he reports it. But yeah, I think I felt like all my other overtakes were clean. It's just that I don't feel great about it, but it happens.
Absolutely, of course. And on a track which coming into, we know how fast and twisty it is. Overtaking is supposed to be very, very hard around here. As you say, you've done quite a lot of clean overtakes as well. The medium tyres, they seem to really, really suit you, because I think the last safety car restart, I think you was outside the points. I think you might have even been in 11th place. So overtaking for you, did you have quite a lot of straight line speed, or was it just very confident on the brakes?
Well, my tactic was the whole time is to just conserve the ERS. I could see probably within 5 laps the people in front of me had their red flashing lights, so I knew they were out of ERS, and I could just that was my chance to use my ERS and use overtake. So really, I don't know if I necessarily had much straight line speed. I just think I had more ERS when it mattered.
Absolutely, of course. And you move. You're still stuck in P3 in the championship, I believe. So, but it is very, very close between yourself, Hultari, and Beastas. Once again, just like last week, we saw a really close battle between yourself and Beastas. I mean, you two are really in a league of your own in qualifying on these very quick, short laps. You two really are class of a field. Do you think you could have pipped him in qualifying? Because you got a great start into turn 1.
Yeah, I looked and I was probably losing about 2 tenths each time in the last sector. I know I didn't do a perfect last sector each time. I think my last lap there was someone spun in the middle of the road, which wasn't ideal. But really, I don't think I could have beat him. He was constantly improving, and each lap he was better than me, just at least by a tenth each time. So yeah, he was in a league of his own as well today as well. So well done to him.
Yeah, congratulations, and well done to another podium for you, and really put yourself in a good position in the opening 3 rounds. I think a 4th, a 2nd, and a 3rd for you. So just a win to go, maybe next time out in round 4. But Charlie, we looked like going into the race, it looked like it could have been another repeat from round 2 of just Monster Blue and Beastas fighting it out for the win. Mashiro shows quite valiantly though that he's certainly, and of course Hultari in the AlphaTauris, those two really cannot be discounted.
Yeah, looking very consistent to AlphaTauris, and they're definitely able to up it a level in the race from their qualifying performance. So if they can keep this up, it's going to be certainly an interesting season. It's going to be more about consistency really than outright pace by the looks of it.
Absolutely, of course. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really do apologise for the technical difficulties, particularly I think through the first half of the race. Sadly, these things just I think it's partly down to the worldwide obviously circumstances of coronavirus. I think we're really putting a strain on a lot of internet and broadband issues, so I really do apologise for that. We'll try our best to get it fixed for round 4 in China, which of course is 8 p.m. live next Wednesday night. We will be going back where Beastas for the first time has the championship lead. Hutai will be looking to reclaim it, and of course Monster Blue, I'm sure, will be looking to hunt down that first win of the season. But thank you very much for joining us. We hope to see you again live 8 p.m. Wednesday night. Have a very good rest of your evening. We hope to see you very, very soon.